What's up, guys? Up here on a Saturday. I'm actually piddling with my car a little bit before I get to the rest of this video and update you on Slick Rick, because this is the main purpose of the video. But right now I'll show you what I'm doing to mine. Back in 2019, when we finished this chassis, they was just starting to make some revisions to the 25-1 rules, which involve the 6D bar, which, yeah, right there, 6D. This is the secondary foot brace for the driver area. Now this bar used to be 1.25 inches, used to be the spec on it. They recently upgraded it to 1 5/8 a couple years, well, nearly a couple years ago. So this chassis has been done that long. We had the old style. The chassis inspector's been here a couple times for some other related stuff on some other cars that we've done some updates to, and I talked to him about this. He said we need to upgrade this bar. Well, I have upgraded it, but I want to put a bend in it. It says diagonal. This is slightly diagonal because it is not square, because it's not a true 90-degree bend, but trying to get in that gray area, because if you will watch, move the camera here, if you'll watch, when my clutch pedal is pushed in, I want it to be inside that bar. That way I can do an upright from here going down to this corner, do my sheet metal here and back over to the firewall, and all of that will be inside the car. If I do a diagonal like the standard book says from this node here, I would have to go all the way up here to get that area to stay inside of that bar. So I've got a text message to him, to our cage inspector, with pictures and stuff, and he's going to review it and just see if they're satisfied with that before I proceed. So if you got your chassis guy's number that does your inspections and you got any questions, it's always good to shoot them guys a message and just verify before you waste a bunch of time. So, update on Slick Rick. Whenever they dropped off the car, I didn't touch it for the whole following week. We do a lot of manufacturing for a lot of different companies, and I had a solid week worth of aluminum welding to do and just never got a chance to even look at it. So I come in this week, and my goal was to get something done on it. So let's talk about what I did get done. I got the front end behind us. The first thing I knew that was gonna have to go was the tree on the inside. I didn't take it all the way out, but I did cut the middle out of it. So on this front end, you've got upright here that's glued in. You got one in the front and you got one on the side, on both sides. So then you had one long bar that connects them off. Most of you know how these things are set up inside all these front ends. But I cut the center out of that bar. So now you have independent 3 pieces, independent 3 pieces. It's still just as strong front to back, but now it's got a little twist like that when you try to pull it off. So I'll go back and I'll put another cross member in this thing after I'm done with the turbo system. That'll tie it all back in and make it, you know, as strong as what it was. It just won't be in my way anymore because I'll put it in a different location. So let's see where the turbo's sitting. Pretty standard location, just dead in the middle. Let me reiterate how big this thing is. Everybody knows how big a monster can is. The can will go inside the compressor. So, really big turbo. So I got on the creeper and I shimmied under this thing, and I just visualized how everything was going to lay out before I got the turbo mounted, which led to me cutting the tree out and stuff like that. I've got a little turbo stand, a little that's actually a big I-beam with a stand that's adjustable up and down. So I was able to bolt the oil drain, one of the oil drain bolts to that, and support the turbo in place, get it lined up, put the front end back on, get everything positioned right, then pull the front end back off, and then I could build the support bars going to the drain flange. So a lot of people have asked about this drain flange. It's similar to a Maven, which Matt and the guys, or Matt at LS Nasty, he drew this up. I think he had Parker Speed machine it, but looks kind of like a Maven mount. Solid on one side, but there's no drain on the bottom. It drains out the side. Ground clearance was a big concern with this car. You know, having not been as far as what it is right now as far as the fabrication goes. They was afraid a hose coming out the bottom was gonna get too close to the ground, possibly risk breaking it if they come down from a wheelie or something like that. So they made it drain out the side. So just to explain this, a tube welds on this side, which in this case it's the driver, goes in the solid side. You have a through bolt through the solid part of the flange. Then it's hollowed out on the inside there. Oil drains in, drains out the side of it, and runs down the tube that welds to the chassis. Now this has an access plug that you remove to get to that bolt on the inside that bolts to the bearing housing. So on this one, the open side is on the passenger side. The oil will run down through here. It's about 13-degree fall or something, so it's got pretty good fall. And I'm getting a little piece I made here. We're gonna weld a 10 bung on the end of this tube. This is an 1.75 inch, or not 1.75 inch, but 3/4 inch 065 tube, which is bigger inside diameter than a 10. That will weld right over that little hole. If you can see, it'll weld right over that little hole in the bottom corner of the tube, and that is where the oil will be pulled from and pulled into a pump and pumped back into the engine. Now they're going to run a really small scavenge pump instead of using the external oil pump, so it can be just kind of independent. I think they're going to regulate the voltage on it where it doesn't pull a ton out of the turbo, because obviously most of these scavenge pumps are pulling a lot more than what's flowing through the turbo. These turbos, most of them have restrictors on them, and they're not flowing a lot of oil, maybe a gallon or something a minute through there, so not a whole lot at all. And most of these, I know the scavenge pumps that we use flow like 2 or 3 gallons a minute, so it's going to be just sucking dry there if they don't limit it a little bit. So we'll let them worry about that though. But got to get that going. Got a steel bung on the way from Race Parts Solutions, so we'll get that in. The other good news we've got is the downpipe's going to work. Now this is a merge that I built probably a couple months ago, maybe not that long. It's hard to get this thing up 5 inch. I've not got big enough hands to reach around it, but that is going to work out perfect. Got plenty of room underneath the fuel pump. Got room to go out the sides. I'll probably, just looking at it now, I'm probably going to cut these legs short and put some V-band flanges right here on both sides, because if I don't put a connection here and I put them out here, you won't be able to get the merge off. And every time that I build something, I build it with the expectation that it's going to be taken apart a lot, and so this will be no different. I know they're going to be working on this thing a lot, have it apart, so everything's got to be easy to work on. Next thing we did, we just kind of went through all the parts that come in the boxes that they brought and made sure we had the right things. Figured out the V-band here was the wrong V-band, so we had to get that measured up, and the correct one for that adapter flange that goes to the throttle body. The V-bands that were on the headers, I don't think that they were male-female style to begin with. So the V-bands that they sent were from Tycon or Stainless Bros. I was actually able to turn the male side of those down in the lathe just a hair, and they was able to lock in the V-bands that are on the headers. So fortunately I don't have to cut those off and redo that. We can just use what's already on the headers, and it worked out great. So I'm trying to think of what else. That's pretty much it. I'm gonna start on the hot side probably this week and see how far I can get with that, with what material I got, and just see how all that lays out. This flange that they had made, a TKM machined this. Matt drew it up with alternating inlets there, kind of maybe help with the routing and the welding. The welding should be pretty easy in between there. No harder than what it always is with the Donnie flanges, but probably sweep this around and go in, and probably try to mimic a similar sweep on this side. That way, looking at it, everything looks, you know, pleasing to the eye, because it's got to look good. I think all this stuff's going to Dieter's eventually, so we got to make this thing look like a show car and look fast, even if it isn't fast, but you know it's going to be fast. 140 millimeters with 570 some odd cubic inches of Proline motor. It's not going to be slow. So that's your update on Slick Rick, and I'll keep the updates coming on it. I'm not sure how far I'll get this week, but I've got some more parts coming in for Jonathan's car, and we're going to get back on it. The wheels for the Demon Performance Jeep over there, they arrived yesterday. Not here, but they come to Demon, and Nathan, he hit me up and he said the wheels are here. So that's been our waiting game on that to get the rear end started and everything. And then on Jonathan's car, a big nasty anti-roll bar setup from Hammer Concepts is on the way. It'll be here the first of the week, and we can get that in and start designing some of the brackets and stuff for that chassis. So I'll probably do a separate update on the bars and stuff that we put in that car here recently on a different video. But this video is mainly for Slick Rick. So keep following this build. I'll keep updating, and we'll get it done.